What's up, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube? Boogie2988 coming at you live once again through the power of the internet. And this is a video I've been meaning to do for a while, even though it's very different from when I normally upload to this channel. But I feel like it's important to set the record straight. Now, even though I have lost a lot of weight and gotten my teeth done, the physical stuff never really bothered me. If somebody said that I was gross or weird or ugly or something along that lines, never really bothered me. I don't really care about that part. I do obsessively care about what you think about my videos, though. So I do read the comments all the time. I read what you guys have to say. I farm for compliments on Twitter and elsewhere when it comes to my actual content, because it's something I always want to improve on, something I always want to be getting better on. And if I'm getting it right, I want to know. So that's one of those areas I'm really sensitive about. So yeah, you're going to see a lot of polls in my future. You're going to a lot of me asking for feedback and comments, and me reading a lot of comments and a lot of Twitter posts asking for you to talk about that stuff. But these days, I tend to get labeled pretty hard for a variety of different things. And I think that's just part of the world we live in these days. People love labels more than ever. I get labeled as an SJW and a cuck all the time, which is completely insane to me, though it's probably closer to reality than some of the other stuff I get labeled as. I also get labeled as alt-right, which is really bizarre to me because it's pretty much the opposite of how I feel in my personal life and also here online. So whenever somebody says, you know, I'm a Nazi or a white supremacist or a Klansman, wow, that couldn't be further off base, but it gets said about me a lot. The most common things these days, though, is I get called a centrist, which I guess in the term that they use it is the idea that you fetishize being stuck in the middle, that you love being in the middle, that you would never want to pick a side on any topic, which is the opposite of kind of how I do things. When it comes to politics, for example, there's a lot of things I'm very conservative about. I do love small taxation, especially on the lower class. I absolutely believe in small government. I want the government to keep their hands off my body and the hands off of my lifestyle, choosing instead to run stuff like the schools and the roads and the welfare programs. You guys should focus on that. Let me do what I want to with my own body. And then there's stuff on the far left that I agree with, like when it comes to equality. It doesn't matter if you're trans, gay, straight, bi, doesn't matter whoever you are, whatever you are. Equality is my jam. I'm always going to fight for that 100%. I don't believe there's a counter argument to equality. There should always just be equality amongst everyone. I lean as far left as you can on that. Centrism to me, not that I consider myself a centrist, but centrism to me is the concept of picking and choosing on each individual issue, never towing the party line. I'm not necessarily Republican, I'm not necessarily Democrat, I'm not necessarily independent. I'm going to pick and choose on each individual issue how I personally feel about that issue, and then talk about that individual issue in that way. And I don't want to get too tied up in the politics of it because I don't care that much about politics. This is not about politics for me, this is more about philosophy. Philosophically, my opinions can be boiled down very simply, and you guys should know this by now, but if you don't, I'd like to put it here in this one video. Hatred and bigotry and intolerance and intolerance, bad. Tolerance and love and empathy and sympathy, good. A lot of people think I'm anti-radical, for example, and I actually don't have a problem with radicals. I love some really radical ideas. I'll give you an example. Let me use gaming as an example because that's primarily what I'm known for. So when it comes to video games, I love the radical idea of us all banding together and never purchasing a game with DLC. If it's $60 or die, right? I love that radical idea, forcing the industry to have to change. That is horribly radical. It's very unlikely. It's a very idealistic point of view that will never happen, but I love it because it's a radical idea. What I wouldn't love about that is that people took that philosophy and used it as an excuse to be an entitled prick. I wouldn't want a radical using that radical idea as an excuse to issue death threats or to attack developers or to phone in bomb threats to gaming companies or something crazy like that. I don't support assholes. I support radicals. I support radical ideas. I just don't support assholes. But when it comes back to the tolerance idea, I will tolerate an asshole. You have every right in this world, in this country, to be a complete and total prick. You're welcome to do that. I may not want you on my personal timeline. I may not want you in my comment section. I may not listen to what you have to say because you're being such an asshole, but you have every right to be that person. As much as I'm done with just toxic people, as much as I am just done with people trying to tear each other down on the internet, you have every right to be that horrible person. Whether it's a bigotry or idiocy or any combination thereof, you have every right to just be a garbage person, and I'm not going to try to stop you from doing that. What I will do is I will tolerate you. I will allow you to continue to exist. I will probably offer a counterpoint every chance I get. I will probably try to educate you and the people who follow you as to why you were wrong. And I will try to do it in a loving, kind, benevolent way in the hopes that they will listen to me for being, reasonable and logical and not listen to you because you're a prick about it. If it's something I think you're objectively wrong about, I will condemn the thing that you are supporting. If you agree with me about it, I will probably condemn the way you support it. Because having been a moderate my entire life, I can tell you that I and a lot of other moderates do not respond to vitriol and anger and fighting and drama. What we respond to is love and kindness and togetherness and inclusion. And the more of that we do, the more people you will get on your side. When you do it in an aggressive, angry, crappy way, you tend to scare people away, moderates away. And those are the people you want voting for your side these days. Just saying. When I was being raised, we were taught America first and Americans first, and that even if you disagree with somebody who lives across the street from you because of the color of their skin or the way they were raised or the religion they preach or the practices they perform, then you still have to tolerate that person because they're Americans. And if they are Americans, they have just as much rights as you do, so you have to just let them do what they want to do even if you don't agree with it. Now, the limit of that is when they harm other people. If you're only harming yourself, I don't really care. Do whatever you want to do. You want to get to be 600, 700, 800 pounds. You want to cut your own skin. Do whatever you want to do. Whatever crazy stuff you want to do. I'll support you in harming yourself. You just can't harm other people. If you are breaking a just and reasonable law, if you are attacking other people, if you're assaulting other people, then that's where your rights end. Your rights end where other people's rights begin. That's how I'm always going to feel. But up to that point, you can say or do whatever it is you want to do, no matter how crazy or ludicrous it is. There is some gray area in that for me, though. Like, I'm not a big fan of hate speech. I'm not a big fan of verbal assault. We've talked about that a little bit on Twitter before. But hey, as long as it remains legal, then that's a practice you're allowed to do. I still think it makes you an asshole, though, and I'm not going to support you. But that's something you're allowed to do. Whenever I talk about this kind of philosophy, people at the end of the day will say it's stupid and it's childlike, and I have to have grown out of this by now. But no, I am an idealist. I am a hopeful romantic. This is the world that I want to believe in. This is the world that I want to live in. So, of course, I'm going to continue to carry this torch until I die. This is the world I want to live in, and I'm going to fight for it, even if it is unrealistic. I also reserve the right to change my mind on any of this stuff or anything else. A lot of people will say that I am wishy-washy, that I will bend in the same direction as the breeze, but the reality of it is I feel like a lot of my ideas are childlike. A lot of them do not stand up to logic or reason, and sometimes I'm willing to let people pick that apart and show me the logical fallacies and show me the reason I'm wrong, and then try to learn from that. That's something I always try to do. So you're going to see me apologize a lot. You're going to see me beg for forgiveness a lot. You're going to see me getting things wrong, being educated, then hopefully pushing out the right message once I know the real answer. They say the person you are at 25 is vastly different from the person you'll be at 30. But these days, information comes at you so quickly and the world changes so fast that I think it is very possible that I will believe completely different stuff a year from now than I do believe today. And I know there's stuff that I feel differently about today that I did a year ago. The world will change you very quickly, and if you don't change with it, if you don't adapt, the reality of it is you probably won't survive, or at least you're not going to be very happy in it. Because I, as a person, want to grow. I want to learn. I want to educate myself. I want to understand how the rest of the world perceives things, apply my filters to it, and figure out how I feel about that stuff. And I hope that you are doing the exact same thing, because I think just choosing one philosophy at the age of 18 and sticking with it till you die, that's how our grandparents did it, and I think we are better than that now. And that's why you'll see me bend and sway on so many different issues as I learn, as I educate, and as I form a more robust opinion than the one that was handed to me 25 years ago when I was in high school. To summarize this video, what I truly believe in, for the most part, is an aspect of tolerance and accepting and just dealing with even the worst of us. Even if you adamantly disagree with somebody and their lifestyle and their religion and the personal choices they are making, you have to learn to at least tolerate that person. But if you're an American and you realize that they are also an American, then maybe you will decide to choose and support them to enjoy that freedom of expression and freedom of right that you also use and take for granted. I think you should. Now, of course, we have to build a brick wall around you when you start harming other people, when you start hitting other people, punching other people, attacking other people, doing crazy bomb threats and pulling fire alarms and just disrupting other people's way of life. That's obviously where we have to stop that. But up to that point, I'm willing to let you talk. I'm willing to let you hang yourself and give you enough rope to do it. And if I adamantly disagree with you, then I will offer a counterpoint, and I will try to do it in a way that will get other people who will not listen to you because you are a jerk, because you're a bad person, to actually listen to me. And hopefully we can outnumber you, especially when it comes to important stuff like the polls. I think it is dangerous and scary that we live in a world that is designed to tear everybody else down to try to get to an even playing field, when instead we should be using that same focus to build ourselves up. And if we use that focus to build ourselves up, we can be more powerful and stronger and have a louder voice than the people we hope to beat anyway. So I think that's the better path. If we focus on building ourselves up and building the people we agree with up, instead of tearing the people we disagree with down, well, if you build everybody up, we live in a world filled with glorious skyscrapers, right? But if we tear everything down, then we live in a world filled with rubble. And that's not a world I want to live in, and I hope you don't either. And all of this is more important to me than those individual issues, whether or not the government is directly involved in my life somehow, or whether or not my taxation goes up, or any of those things. I would rather keep that cornerstone that America was built on in my mind and fight for that than I would fight for any particular individual issue. I'm willing to give a little bit of concession on a lot of that stuff as long as we keep the core concept intact. That's my personal philosophy. I'm sure you'll disagree with it, and if you do, let me know. Because at the end of the day, I'm broken in a way where peace and quiet is the most important thing to me. People fighting in the streets, people fighting each other on Twitter, it's just never going to settle well for me because my brain adamantly disdains that stuff. So you might be very different. You might thrive in that kind of world, and if you do, we're going to disagree on this stuff. I'm a lover, not a fighter. What can I say? And I'm not a particularly good lover. I mean, look at me. Look at me. So I hope you enjoyed this video. It's just a kind of a personal look. Hopefully, if you see somebody saying, Boogie's this, Boogie's that, you can link this video to them and maybe they will watch it. It probably won't happen, but it's a cool idea. And if nothing else, hopefully you can learn a little something about me from this video. Now, this is just one man's opinion. I know I could be wrong. I probably am, and you're going to let me know in the comment section and Twitter and Reddit and everywhere else. I'm sure I can only imagine the heat this video might get, but hopefully it'll be a good kind of heat. As always, guys, thanks for watching. I love you very much, and I'll speak with you again.